Chapter 29. Renee peered through the car window as Sean pulled to a stop in front of Liz's house. An icy wind sent white waves of snow swirling across Fear Street. "I don't see any lights on," Renee commented, "and there aren't many cars parked on the street." "You're right," Sean answered. "I wonder how many people Liz invited." "Even if she invited a lot, I don't think many kids would come," Renee sighed. "Justin Stiles is having a huge party tonight, remember? And his parties are always great." "Maybe we can cut out early and head over there," Sean suggested. "Ready to go in?" Renee pulled open her bag and dug around for her favorite berry pink lipstick. She waved it in front of Sean's face. "I think you kissed it all off," she told him. "I hope you don't expect me to apologize," Sean teased. Renee shook her head and finished reapplying her lipstick. "Ready?" Sean asked. "Not really," Renee admitted. "I'm glad Liz invited us, but I'm nervous about seeing her again." "Come on, it's New Year's Eve," Sean exclaimed. "Let's party." A horn beeped behind them. "Greta and Artie," Sean observed. "Great. Now we can all go in together. It will be easier to face Liz in a group." Renee and Sean climbed out of the car and met the other couple on the sidewalk. "I'm glad they didn't break up," Renee thought. "Enough bad things have happened this year." "Party time!" Artie exclaimed. He slapped Sean a high five. "Happy New Year's Eve, guys!" They made their way up the snowy front walk. "Haven't they ever heard of shovels?" Greta complained. "I'm going to kill myself trying to walk through snow in these shoes." Renee grabbed the rail as she climbed up the porch steps. She didn't want to go flying on the icy cement. The porch light was off. Renee didn't hear any music or voices coming from the house. "Why is it so quiet?" Greta whispered. Renee shrugged and rang the doorbell. "I guess we're the first to arrive." "Have you ever been inside?" Artie asked as they waited for Liz. "No, I dropped Liz off a couple of times but never went inside. And we talked on the porch the day I tried to apologize," Renee answered. "I wonder if her parents will be home tonight. I've never met them." Renee hoped they wouldn't. She didn't know how she could face them. What could she say to them about the night PJ disappeared? "What's taking Liz so long?" Artie demanded. "It's freezing out here." He raised his fist to knock, and the door swung open. Liz appeared, wearing a red velvet party dress. That deep red is a great color for her, Renee thought. But Liz is so pale, even her lips appeared almost colorless. Liz swept out her arm, gesturing them inside. "Come in. I've been waiting for you," she said softly. "I'm so glad you decided to have a New Year's Eve party," Renee exclaimed. She gave Liz a quick hug, but Liz kept her arms at her sides, her body stiff. "Why did she invite me if she's going to act so cold?" Renee wondered. Liz turned her back on them abruptly. She walked briskly down the hall toward the only room with a light on. "The living room is this way," she called. "Oh no," Renee thought as she stepped into the room. She heard Greta give a little gasp behind her. "I shouldn't have come here," Renee told herself. "I never should have come here." Liz had decorated the entire room in black. Black crepe paper draped the walls. Black balloons floated at the ceiling. "It's not a party, it's a funeral," Renee thought glumly. "Are your parents home?" Artie asked, gazing around the room tensely. "No," Liz replied. She didn't volunteer any other information. Renee glanced over at Greta. Greta rolled her eyes as if to say, "Do you believe this?" Renee studied the room, trying to appear interested in the house, but her eyes kept returning to the black decorations. "Wow, your living room is as big as a hotel lobby?" Renee gushed. She couldn't stand the silence one more second. Every muscle in her body had tensed. Liz didn't reply. She stared blankly at Renee. What is wrong with her? Renee wondered. The huge room was practically bare. In a corner, Renee spotted a round table with a punch bowl. Beside the punch bowl stood a large book. "Is your family redecorating?" Renee asked. "No," Liz answered. Maybe Liz's parents couldn't afford to furnish the whole place at once, Renee thought. "Let me take your coats," Liz said suddenly. They handed her their coats, and she disappeared into the hallway. "Whoa, did we crash the Addams family New Year's party?" Artie burst out as soon as Liz closed the door behind her. "Really?" Sean agreed. They stared at each other, wondering what to do. No music, no place to sit, no way to avoid the solemn black decorations. "How about some punch?" Greta suggested. She wandered over to the table and peered into the bowl. "At least it isn't black," she announced. They gathered around the table as Greta filled 4 cups. "So, what is going on here, guys?" Renee asked in a whisper. "Who knows?" Sean replied. "But I say we stay for half an hour and get out." "Definitely," Artie agreed. "Liz is giving me the creeps. I'm not even going to try to figure out these black decorations." "Check it out," Renee said, picking up the big book from the table. "Liz has an old Shadyside High yearbook. What year is it? Wow, 1965. I wonder if her parents went there. She flipped open the cover. Greta snickered. Listen to this inscription. We'll be friends until the ocean needs diapers to kick its bottom dry. Not too corny, Sean joked, rolling his eyes. Rainey turned the page. Are those the cheerleaders? Artie cried. Their uniforms come down past their knees. Leave that alone, Liz yelled from the doorway. Rainey jumped. She hadn't heard Liz return. She quickly closed the yearbook. Why were you snooping? Liz demanded sharply as she crossed the room toward them. Liz, the yearbook was on the table. I didn't think it would be any big deal. Sorry, Rainey replied. A knock on the front door caught them all by surprise. Great, Rainey thought. More people. More people means we can leave early. Maybe the room won't feel so creepy if it's crowded. Good, Liz declared. I didn't want to start until we were all here. Start what? Rainey wondered. She watched Artie take a cautious sip of the punch. How is it? Sean asked. Regular fruit punch? Artie grinned. He drank down the rest of the cup. Brr, Greta cried, rubbing her sleeves. It's so cold in here. I know, Rainey answered. I don't think she has any heat on. I wish I'd kept my coat. Here's my date, Liz announced. She led Ty over to the others. She sounds a little happier, at least, Rainey observed. Maybe Ty will get her in a better mood. Yo, Ty, where have you been, man? Artie asked. Haven't seen you for a while. Me either, Sean said. We keep getting different shifts at the burger basket. Ty shrugged. I haven't been doing too much, just hanging out. Hanging out with Liz, Rainey thought. The room grew quiet again. I have to ask her about PJ, Rainey decided. We can't all pretend we've forgotten what happened to him. Any news about your brother? No, Liz replied blankly, her face expressionless. The police still haven't found any sign of him, except for his jacket. I hope they find him soon. We all hope he's okay, Rainey said. Liz stared at her, a harsh, cold stare. Believe me, Rainey silently pleaded. You have to believe that. I didn't mean for anything bad to happen. Not to PJ, not to you, not to anyone. Liz turned away. We'll learn what happened to him sooner or later, won't we? She murmured. What is that supposed to mean? Rainey wondered. When they find his body, or what? You think PJ could have run away? Greta asked. Gone to another city or something? No, Liz replied flatly. Why don't you think so? Greta asked. Kids our age run away a lot. I mean, it's pretty common, and he was having a tough time at school. I know my brother, Liz said crisply. PJ wouldn't want me to worry. He'd never run away. Liz poured Ty a cup of punch and took one for herself. It's time, she announced, waving them into the center of the room. Time for what? Rainey wondered. It's not midnight yet. Liz raised her cup. A toast to our departed friends. We miss them all very much. She gazed at each person in the circle, then brought the cup to her lips. Rainey took a sip of punch. Horrifying images of the past 2 months flashed through her mind. The blood dripping down Mark's cheek. Sandy sprawled in a pile of garbage, both of their heads twisted completely backward, and PJ so cold and pale as she frantically gave him mouth-to-mouth resuscitation. Would they find PJ next? Would his head be turned around like the others? Or was PJ hiding somewhere, responsible for the murders, and planning to kill again? Liz raised her cup. Another toast to our departed. Her words trailed off. Her lips trembled and tears began rolling down her cheeks. Liz buried her face in her hands and sobbed. Poor Liz, Rainey thought. She's so pale, so thin. I have to remember how much she's gone through. No wonder she's feeling so emotional tonight. Ty led Liz to a corner at the far end of the room. They could still hear her wrenching sobs. Do you think we should leave? Greta whispered. I don't know, Rainey answered. It might make Liz feel worse. Rainey glanced over at Liz and Ty. They huddled close together, their backs to the others. Now what? Sean muttered. Should we keep pretending this is a normal party? No, Liz said loudly. I won't. Rainey turned and saw Liz shove Ty away from her. She strode toward them, her face twisted with anger, her eyes almost glowing. I'll tell you why I invited you all here, Liz declared. Ty reached for her. Keep away from me, she screeched. He backed up, a hurt expression on his face. Liz narrowed her eyes at Rainey. The reason I gave this party is because I decided it would be easier to kill you all at once, instead of continuing one by one. Chapter 30. Don't try to run, Liz warned. The doors are bolted. Liz, this isn't funny, Rainey protested. I'm leaving, Artie declared. I'm not playing this dumb game anymore. Sean stared hard, studying Liz. I don't think it's a game. Listen to Sean. He's the smart one, Liz told them. Do you mean that you killed Mark and Sandy? Greta demanded. Now you're catching on, Liz replied with a cold smile. Renee felt goosebumps roll up and down her arms. No, she gasped, I don't believe it. You couldn't kill anyone, no matter how angry you are. I killed them, and I enjoyed it, Liz insisted, her eyes burning into Renee's. I loved hearing the crack as I broke their necks. I loved staring into their terrified faces. Artie dashed over to the big oak door leading to the hallway and yanked on it. It didn't open. He pounded on it, threw his weight against it. It didn't budge. Greta raced to the windows at the back of the room. She shoved the curtains apart and found wrought iron bars. We're trapped, Renee thought. There are 5 of us and 1 of you, Artie challenged Liz. You can't force us to stay. Watch me. Liz lifted the tablecloth and slid open a drawer. She pulled out a carving knife. Why? Renee pleaded. Why are you doing this? Why? Liz fixed her gaze on Renee. Her eyes blazed with hatred. Because a stupid practical joke was responsible for my brother's death, she replied. That's not true, Sean yelled. PJ didn't die at the party. He... Who would like to go first? Liz shrieked. She glanced from face to face. Don't all volunteer at once, and don't worry. I'll get around to each of you before the new year chimes. Liz stepped toward Renee. She raised a knife high above her head. The sharp silver blade gleamed. How about you, Renee? You want to be the first to die? You were the first to pretend to be my friend. Liz plunged the knife right at Renee's heart. Chapter 31. Renee didn't have time to scream. As the knife came down, Sean dove at Liz. He grabbed her arm and twisted the knife away from Renee before it could stab her. The knife clattered to the table. Renee stood paralyzed. She could almost feel the cold knife blade ripping into her body. Liz shot out her free hand, made a frantic grab for the knife, but Sean was quicker. He snatched up the knife and pointed it at Liz. Get her, Sean! Artie yelled. Unlock the door, Sean ordered Liz. He kept the knife aimed at Liz. She didn't move. Unlock it now, Sean barked. I don't want to hurt you, but we're leaving, and we're getting the police. Renee moved closer to Sean, her heart still thudding, still feeling dazed from her narrow escape. Okay, Liz gasped. Okay, I'll unlock it. She backed away from Sean. He didn't lower the knife. Liz is giving up, Renee thought. She closed her eyes and pulled in a deep breath, allowing the relief to sink in. But instead of turning to the door, Liz let out a cry of attack and threw herself at Sean. Sean toppled to the floor with Liz on top of him. The knife started to fall from his hand, but he grabbed it back. His body twisted and thrashed as he tried to throw Liz off. Liz uttered another cry and reached for Sean's throat. His face went red as she tried to choke him. Drop the knife! Drop it! Drop it! She shrieked. Renee forced herself to move. She grabbed Liz by the shoulders and struggled to pull her off Sean. With startling strength, Liz leaned out of Renee's grasp, sprang onto Sean's arm, and tore at his wrist with her teeth. Sean let out a howl of pain. Liz cried in triumph as she pulled the knife away from his grasp. She jumped to her feet. Sean rolled away from her, holding his wounded arm. Liz scrambled after him. I guess you want to be first, Sean, she rasped, breathing hard. She slashed the air with the blade. Liz, don't. Liz froze. The knife shimmered for a second in midair. Then she grabbed Sean and pressed the blade against his throat. Don't, Liz, the voice repeated. Renee spun around to see who was warning Liz. PJ, she shrieked. He stepped quickly into the room. Don't do it, Liz, PJ repeated. You're alive, Renee cried. PJ, you're okay? Thank goodness you're alive, Greta chimed in happily. PJ, tell your sister, Renee pleaded. Tell your sister we didn't hurt you. Tell her. PJ hesitated, his eyes on Liz. Liz kept a knife blade pressed against Sean's throat. Renee saw a drop of red blood roll down Sean's neck. Liz? PJ moved slowly toward his sister. Liz pulled the knife away from Sean's neck. She lowered it to her side. That's better, PJ said softly, soothingly. I'm glad you stopped, Liz. I'm glad you listened to me. Whoa, it's over, Renee told herself. Thank goodness PJ arrived when he did. It's over. It's over. A grin slowly crossed PJ's face as he stepped up to his sister. I'm glad you waited, Liz, he said softly. I would be so disappointed if you started without me. I want to watch them die, too. Chapter 32. PJ spun away from Liz and faced Renee and her friends. His eyes gleamed with hatred. I want to watch you die, all of you, he cried. But, PJ, we're your friends, Greta insisted. We've all been so worried about you. Where were you? What happened that night after Reenie's party? Behind PJ and Liz, Reenie saw Sean slowly climb to his feet. What is he planning to do? Reenie wondered. Be careful, Sean, she pleaded. Please, be careful. I've been here all along, PJ revealed. I wouldn't miss the fun. I watched Liz kill Sandy and Mark. She killed them, but I got to watch. That's sick, Reenie cried. She hadn't meant to say anything, but the words burst out of her. Why? Greta wailed. Why did you kill them, Liz? Artie stepped up close to Greta. Meanwhile, Sean crept up behind Liz and PJ. Reenie felt sick. How could Liz be a murderer? How could PJ enjoy watching her kill? They seemed so normal, so totally normal. How could you kill Sandy and Mark because they played a harmless trick on PJ? Reenie asked them. Before either of them could answer, Sean grabbed Liz around the waist. He pinned her against him with one arm and grabbed the knife away with his other hand. Liz spun free. She dived at Sean. He tried to dodge out of her way. Too late. Liz lost her balance, stumbled into him, and the knife plunged deep into her chest. Screams rang out in the huge room. Everyone screamed but Liz. Reenie stared in amazement at the blank expression on Liz's face. Oh, a frightened moan escaped Sean's throat. Reenie knew that he hadn't meant to stab her, and now he was trembling all over, his eyes wide with horror. Only Liz remained calm. No blood, Artie stammered, pointing. Reenie gaped at the front of Liz's dress. No blood. No blood poured from the wound. With a loud gasp, Sean pulled the knife from Liz's chest. Liz didn't move, didn't cry out. Reenie's body convulsed in a tremor of fear. What's going on? She wondered. What is happening here? Chapter 33. Reenie stared at the knife in Sean's hand. The blade gleamed under the ceiling light. No blood. No blood. The words repeated in Reenie's ears until they became a roar. Liz turned to Sean, a strange smile on her face. You tore my dress, she told him with a phony pout. Sean let the knife fall to the floor. His face tightened with fear as he backed away from Liz. Liz laughed. Scaredy cat, she whispered. So sorry, Sean, but you can't kill me. No, why? Why? Sean managed to choke out. Because I'm already dead. No? A cry of protest escaped Reenie's throat. PJ and I are already dead, Liz revealed. We both died before you were born. Here, I'll prove it to you. Liz strode over to the table and grabbed the old Shadyside High yearbook. She tossed it to Reenie. Reenie's fingers shook as she ran them over an embossed cover. Class of 1965. She opened the book. The glossy pages automatically fell open to a full-page photo in the front. The photo was surrounded by a heavy black border. Beneath the photo, the caption read, In Memoriam, Elizabeth Fleischer and her brother, Philip Jeremy Fleischer. You will always live in our hearts. Greta peered over Reenie's shoulder at the photograph. As she read the caption, her hand squeezed Reenie's arm. It's Liz and PJ, Sean murmured, staring at the page. Look at them. They look exactly the same. But this photo was taken over 30 years ago. We weren't known as Liz and PJ then, Liz explained. We were Beth and Jeremy. We died in a car accident on New Year's Eve. A snowy night a lot like this one. And do you know why we died? PJ chimed in, stepping up beside his sister. Do you know why? We died because some cruel kids played a mean joke on my brother, Liz told them bitterly. And now it's 30 years later. 30 years that we could have enjoyed, that we could have been alive in. 30 years later, and you kids did the same thing. Whoa, wait, Sean started. This time, it's going to be different, Liz snapped, ignoring him. This time, you're going to pay for your joke. You're going to pay for the 30 years we lost because of a joke. You're all going to die, PJ declared gleefully. Chapter 34. PJ and I waited a long time for this moment, Liz continued. We spent years trapped in a cold, gray place. As the years passed, we grew stronger, and then suddenly we were back in Shadyside, back in our old bodies. People could see us and hear us again. I realized PJ and I had been given a second chance, a chance for revenge. But why take your revenge on us? Reenie cried. You died more than 10 years before we were born? Her voice came out shaky and weak, but she forced herself to continue. We didn't cause your death. We didn't cause PJ's death. Liz moved up in front of Reenie. She stood so close Reenie could feel Liz's cold, sour breath against her face. I liked you all so much at first. Especially you, Renee, Liz said, almost tenderly. You were all so nice, so friendly to me. Her expression darkened. Then you played the same kind of cruel trick on PJ that my other so-called friends did, she sighed. And that's when I knew. That's when I knew you all had to die. We play those tricks all the time, Greta cried. For fun, to have a good laugh, that's all. We aren't like those other kids. We didn't want to hurt PJ. She turns to PJ. I was your friend, remember? PJ scowled. Some friend. Enough talk, Liz said sharply. My brother and I waited so long for this. It's hard to believe it's finally going to happen. She picked up the knife, smiled at Renee, a cold smile, dead eyes glowing, lurched at Renee. Ty jumped between them. Stay out of this, Ty, Liz ordered. She raised the knife, her face twisted in anger. Move away, Ty. Ty didn't budge. He stood there, hands at his sides, his gaze fixed on Liz. You've got the story wrong, Beth, Ty declared softly. Wrong? What are you talking about? Liz demanded. You haven't figured it out, Beth, he told her. You haven't figured out why you were brought back to life. Ty, step aside, Liz ordered. Stop trying to protect Renee. She's going to die, and so are you. No, I'm not, Ty insisted. Renee stared hard at him, studying him. She didn't know Ty very well, but here he was being so brave, so totally brave, standing up to Liz or Beth or whatever her name was, standing up to a girl who had been dead for 30 years with such calmness, such courage. You haven't figured it out, Beth, Ty repeated softly. You weren't brought back from the dead to have your revenge. I was. Chapter 35. Your revenge, Liz shrieked. For what? I died on that snowy New Year's Eve in 1965, too, Ty told her. Renee gasped. Ty? Ty is a ghost, too? Renee felt chill after chill roll down her body. Don't you remember me? Ty asked Liz. I remember you so well. You and your brother. No, PJ and Liz cried both at once. They are scared, Renee saw. They remember Ty somehow. I didn't know why I'd been brought back to life, back to Shadyside either, Ty continued, until I met you and your brother. Then I knew. I knew you were Beth and Jeremy, the ones who ran me down in the snow on New Year's Eve and left me to die. PJ uttered a moan of pain. We should have stopped. We should have stopped. Don't, Liz snapped at her brother. We didn't kill him. We hit an animal, a raccoon. You know that isn't true, Beth, Ty insisted. I'm sure you remember my face against the windshield. I stared in at you. I saw you both before you raced away and left me to die. Liz spun around and ran wildly to the door. Ty reached it before she did and blocked her way. He stroked Liz's cheek with one finger. She shivered. That's why I stayed so close to you, Ty told her. I've been waiting for this moment, the perfect moment for my revenge. New Year's. Bong. The clock chimed, startling Renee, the first stroke of midnight. It's my turn, Ty continued. That's why you two were brought back, so I could kill you. That's why all three of us were brought back. An expression of pure dread spread across Liz's face. Ty grabbed her. Liz uttered a howl of terror. The clock continued to chime. Bong, bong, bong. Liz flailed at Ty with her fists, tried to wiggle out of his grasp, but Ty held on, refusing to release her. Let go of my sister, PJ wailed. He threw himself on Ty, struggled to pull Liz from Ty's grasp. Bong, bong, bong. Renee had lost count, but she knew midnight was only moments away. Liz and Ty and PJ whirled around, tugging at each other as if in a mad dance, faster and faster. Waves of icy air swept off their bodies. Renee's skin felt numb, her eyes teared. Bong! Liz's screams drowned out the clock. They whirled around the vicious circle, a circle of rage and revenge. Faster, still faster, a ghostly whirlwind. A high, shrill whistle pierced Renee's ears. Louder, shriller, until Renee covered both ears to shut it out. Then it stopped, and the three ghosts began to fade. They grew dimmer, dimmer. Bong! They faded to shadows. Then the shadows faded to smoke, a spinning column of smoke. Bong! The clock struck 12 and fell silent. The smoke faded and floated away. Rini and her friend stared in shocked silence. "They're gone," Greta whispered finally. "Gone." Sean let out a long sigh. Without realizing it, they were hugging each other tightly, because they had survived, because they were alive. They hugged each other in silence. And then Rini turned to the spot where the ghosts had spun and whirled, had done their final dance. "It's all so sad and frightening," she said. "What more is there to say?" For a long moment, no one answered. Then Sean put his arm around her and pulled her close. "How about Happy New Year?" he said softly. This has been a Nightfall Audiobooks production of The New Year's Party by R.L. Stine, a Fear Street Super Chiller, Book 9. Hi, this is Chris with Nightfall Audiobooks, and thank you very much for joining me for my production of The New Year's Party by R.L. Stine from the Fear Street Super Chillers line. This book was kind of all over the place. I thought it would be playing more with the time idea, with there being 1965 and present day, because R.L. Stine is famous for that. He did the Fear Street Sagas trilogy like that. He's done that in several of his Super Chillers. He'll just jump around in time. He did that in the Beast series. That's okay. I'm used to that kind of trope. I really thought that there would be more time spent in 1965 with more backstory, not just the opening and, a small couple of chapters in the middle there where you go back to 1965. I didn't think Liz was the killer until the very end when she revealed it. I thought it was PJ doing something, killing the kids, sneaking off, coming back, that kind of thing. I should have seen it being Liz because I've read over 50 of these novels almost in a row. And, I should have known already that no, it was Liz all along. I'm sure the tells are there somewhere if I go to reread the story again. But then that part with Ty also being a ghost, that was another twist on top of a twist. And then they start doing that final spin thing. R.L. Stine likes to use that spinning imagery. He uses it in Goodnight Kiss for the vampires to transform from humans to bats, back to humans again. He uses it in The Secret Bedroom when the ghost and her ghoul parents resolve and they go away. He likes to use this spinning tornado thing. I don't know. I kind of just picture those like old Bugs Bunny Looney Tunes style fight bubbles. You know what I mean, where it's just a tornado of action. You might see like a pow or a kabam come out and like someone's fist or like a lightning bolt appears or something like that. That's what always comes to mind when R.L. Stine covers this spinning, twisting imagery, and it's like some just cacophony of action. Would I recommend this story? I don't know. It's middle of the road. It's pretty long. It's 35 chapters long, even though the end of the novel comes together very quickly because those chapters are extremely short. It's unique in that it has not only one twist, but two. But then the twists kind of don't pay off because everyone lives at the end, with the exception of the people that were killed. And nothing was really learned. Rini said, "Hey, let's stop playing these weird jokes on each other, and we'll all stop." And that was about it. Artie is still hanging out with Mark. Greta is still unhappy with Marty. I guess Greta and Artie stay together, probably because Mark is now dead and he's out of the equation. Rini doesn't learn anything. She doesn't make any progress as a person at all, except to say, "Hey, let's stop doing these stupid games to each other." Sean's just there. Everyone else is just kind of there. Am I complaining about lack of character development in an R.L. Stine book? No, of course not. But this is a run-of-the-mill novel. It's like a 5 out of 10, maybe a 6. It's okay. It's not very memorable, and I don't think I would read it ever again. If you were to say to me, "Hey, I need a really good super chiller. What do you recommend?" High Tide. Absolutely. That's a really, really good novel. I would read that over this, over Goodnight Kiss. Now, that being said, I'm at a very unique position here because I only have 3 super chillers left to record before I am all done. I have Goodnight Kiss 1 and 2 and Party Summer. So I'll have to read those next. Will I do them immediately? No, I will not. I like to take a break between the super chillers because, like I said, this one's 35 chapters long, and it takes me a little bit longer to edit and put together and get it all ready to go and schedule. before I air it. I like to do a Fear Street novel, a Super Chiller, a Fear Street novel, a point horror novel, and then go back to Fear Street. And then, if I have enough time, I may get to an author that I want to cover but I haven't had a chance to do lately, like Christopher Pike, or Mickey Zucker Reichardt, or Patricia C. Reed. I may have time to read one of those novels and put that on the show before I get back on the R.L. Stine train. Don't worry, I will be finishing all of the original run of the Fear Street series, all the Super Chillers, because, like I said, I only have 3 left, and all of R.L. Stine's Point Horror series, on top of the Cheerleader stuff, the Cataluna Chronicles, 99 Fear Street, and the Fear Street Sagas trilogy. That's over 90 R.L. Stine books, and that's quite a few. I've taken requests, and some people have asked for series I'm not going to be covering that R.L. Stine have written, like Goosebumps, Goosebumps 2000, Fear Park, Fear Street Seniors, Fear Street Nights, Return to Fear Street, Ghosts of Fear Street, the Fear Street relaunch. No. This is a lot of Fear Street material to cover. We're not going to get into anything else. So with all that being said, what should I do next? I don't know. Please write me an email, nightfallaudiobooks@gmail.com. I am also on YouTube at Nightfall Audiobooks. Feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. I also have a Patreon page, patreon.com/nightfallaudiobooks. So tell your friends, tell your mom, tell whoever you think would like to listen to me tell them tales from R.L. Stine. Thank you very much for listening. Happy New Year, happy 2025, and I will see you next time.